I think that there's so much more potential here in terms of mutual aid and forming communities that can, really have positive effects on the lives of people's material worlds that are oftentimes the last people to have access to this technology.
I want to see more art and want to see more female art in non-binary, LGBT, people of color, more of actual one-on-one art as well.
Community is definitely the reason why I was able to start getting sales, because it was about 3 or 4 months that I was in the space. I didn't get any sales or attention or anything, but once I got to know people, it definitely helped me out in the space.
I say about the AI and stuff, now it will change the whole field of art, so we have to readjust even if we want to use it or not.
What I really want to see more of in the NFT space is more of a disruption of global capitalism, which I think was kind of the idea in the first place. And I think we're really going to see more and more of that if we are more community centric.
Hi everyone, it's Eleni and Joy, and we're super honored to have brilliant artists Abby, Nicole, Nina, Eleni, and Eileen with backgrounds spanning from curators, 3D visual artists, and writers inspired by technology and culture on an episode of NEWFORUM Community Forum series. And as always, NEWFORUM is a community podcast inviting purpose-driven creators, visionaries, developers, and investors to spark accessible conversations on the topics of crypto, the metaverse, NFT, and everything Web3.
And we are excited to have most of you from the NEWFORUM community join us once again on this panel, as well as Eileen, to discuss new projects and development in the Web3 space from a cultural and creative economy perspective. We are super excited for all of you guys to join, and we would love to have a brief introduction about who you are and maybe also the projects that you're working on. And maybe we can start with Nicole.
Sure. My name's Nicole Ruggiero, and I've been working on a variety of different things lately. I just finished a solo show in New York with How the Internet Changed My Life, which hopefully will continue to tour that. It's already been shown in Basel, Switzerland, and Dusseldorf, Germany. So that was really fun. And now I am focusing on kind of developing a new workflow, really building my own characters out, sculpting them, and kind of getting into moving away from using this program called DAOs and really just customizing my characters, which is really exciting. And I haven't really had the time to do that until now. So I'm really happy to just really get more into this unique workflow that hopefully eventually will save me time. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Amazing. Nina, I think you might can go next because I know you're also into 3D art.
Sure. Hey guys, good to see you. My name is Nina, also known as Ninocence. I'm a digital artist and also been a creative director and photographer for quite a while, and super excited to be on this NFT journey. I've been refocusing on creating avatars, so actually digital twins of people. And my mission is to bring, everyone from IRL into the metaverse via my company called Lilium Labs, which I call a digital avatar incubator. And for that, with my NFT profits, I have been developing an application for facial scanning, currently in fundraising, and it's a really cool app that helps scan people within seconds, minutes, just with a few pictures and utilizing LiDAR camera. Some of the current fun projects I'd say would be photogenics avatar division that I've created for them. I've digitized 10 of their top models, and they also signed my avatar and my boyfriend's avatar as well into their roster. And then my avatar recently has done Vogue Taiwan publication and L'Officiel together with Dior cover on a magazine. Yeah, and recently has also been working on a few documentaries about avatars, including Disney Plus and Wow 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 TV from Japan. So it's been very exciting. Thank you guys.
Amazing. Love to hear that. Abby, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Abieyuwa. Most people call me Abby, multidisciplinary artist and curator. And I mostly focus on 3D art. And I actually just this year started using DAOs, but last year I was mostly focused on modeling and sculpting. And so I'm going to try and, morph both of those together. I've also started experimenting with AI as well. And currently I'm wrapping up a collection that I've been working on for a few months. I'm just trying to figure out where to drop it and that kind of thing. Also, I've been planning some upcoming shows and opportunities for other artists and myself. Yeah, that's that's about it. I'm in a few DAOs. The applications I use, Blender, DAZ. I just started learning Marvelous Designer, Open Labs, Dolly. Yeah, that's the AI I've started using. I'm trying to learn that too. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That sounds like quite a lot right now. So happy to hear that you're busy. Eileen, maybe you can go next.
Sure. Yeah, everyone sounds so busy. I don't know how you are juggling all of these things. But yes, I'm Eileen Skyers. I've been working with Friends with Benefits DAO on the marketing and editorial side. Prior to this, have just had a ton of experience working in the traditional art world, garnering a lot of insight and knowledge from that space. Everywhere from David Swerner, where I used to work on their online sales prior to the whole NFT boom, and with the Whitney doing their sort of digital social media, working also before that with Rhizome, which is an institution that supports, born digital art and has been doing so since like the early 90s.
Amazing work. Can't wait to hear more about that in a bit. And Eleni, do you want to go next?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Eleni, I'm a visual artist from Greece. I'm a recent master's graduate from the Royal College of Art in London. I work multidisciplinary, moving image, text, installation, drawing, quite everything. I have entered the NFT space since 1 year now with my project Eleni's Board Again, which is quite different from from my traditional art world work. And now I have started a new project called Nihilism, which is also a bit different from what I'm doing outside of NFTs, but I am also progressively adapting my other work in the NFT world as well.
Amazing. I just gotta say, I'm super honored and happy to see so many different and diverse people in the space and finding their foot in the space. So many great women are here. And I'm wondering, so to start things off, we just heard about Christie's and Vogue launching their own Metaverse marketplace. And the space is kind of growing. Like we had a couple ups and downs with the market. And from your perspective, how do you think is the impact and the state right now of the NFT markets? And maybe we can go with Eileen first, and then we make a bit of a round, whoever has thoughts on that. But we really want to know, like, we are kind of in a bear market right now, but there's innovation coming, there's marketplaces coming, and things are happening. So I'm wondering, what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so to be honest, I haven't done a lot of reading yet on the Christie's NFT marketplace, so I don't know a ton about its tech or backend, but I think that its contributions to this space have often been seen as like lending a little bit of legitimacy to this space. And so I think them launch marketplace in this time is a little bit of a signal both to like the pre-existing NFT marketplaces and perhaps to a lot of galleries that have been hesitant to join. Rather, it may be a little bit of a signal that there is like more longevity here. And obviously we are in a bear market. It's a bit of a winter period. But oftentimes what gets said over and over in this space is like, that's when most of the innovation happens and when a lot of artists like yourselves can really spend the time connecting with their work, refining their practices and kind of processes. So I think that that's like, honestly, it's really nice to be in a period where you're not in the middle of a hype cycle in some sense.
Yeah, I love that perspective. What do the others think? Nicole, do you have a thought on this?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah, it's been feeling like pretty quiet lately. I guess like I'm kind of just pondering, how things are going to move forward. I know that I have also purchased like NFTs in some communities, like that I'm waiting for them to like develop, their games or their physical or digital like metaverse space. Like I have land in a couple communities that I'm waiting for them to develop that. So like for me, I'm kind of just like, okay, this is probably going to take like a couple years, a few years from like the purchase to them being able to kind of like launch this stuff. But I mean, even for instance, like with like Meta or like Facebook or whatever, like they're like fully invested in this like future of like augmented reality. It's really interesting because I like saw like a commercial the other day that was like really like showing like this like AR future like in this commercial, which is like what they're like really envisioning, which was like really interesting to see from them. But yeah, I mean, I'm just really curious to kind of see how this is gonna grow and move forward. I mean, I have no doubts this is going to continue to move forward, but yeah, I'm curious like at what pace and like how it will move forward. But as far as like marketplaces and sales and stuff, like things have definitely been slower, but I don't know if that's really like the worst thing, because I think, when the marketplaces first launched, like things were like insane, like just completely unrealistically crazy as far as like the speed at which like everyone was expecting things to sell and sell out and like move forward. And so I think things are kind of like for artists right now, just kind of like leveling out.
Like you said, when it comes to standstill, there's always some innovation happening. So I'm excited to see how even these new technologies like AR, VR, how that's going to look like in half a year or a year from now. And I'm wondering what kind of influence or support did communities and DAOs, like what kind of role do they play? I know that Abby and Eileen are part of FWB, and maybe they can start off with sharing their experience, how the communities that they're in are influencing them and supporting them.
When I first got in the space, I was on my own. I didn't really know anybody. So I was, participating in all the show threads, and I just felt like I was talking to a brick wall most of the time, trying to get people to look at my art. And then I met Diana Sinclair, and we were part of Her Story DAO at the time. And so she made a thread of artists that everybody needs to check out. And because of that thread, this big collector started my auction, and then someone outbid him. And so that was my first ever sale. And so I feel like community is definitely the reason why I was able to start getting sales, because it was about like 3 or 4 months that I was in the space. I didn't get any sales or attention or anything. But like once I got to know people who were similar to me or had similar like ideals, then it definitely helped me out in the space. Because I don't know, maybe I would have quit if I didn't know anybody. I'm not sure. But yeah, I definitely think community played a huge role in my Web3 career.
And maybe Eileen, how did you perceive this process? I mean, you're close to the artist, so I'm wondering from your side, like how does that make you feel, like seeing these kind of processes and communities?
Yeah, it's super interesting. Abby, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your relationship and process joining FWB. But I think that from my perspective, it's really interesting thinking about, these decades of social media and kind of friendship peddling corporations like Facebook teaching us that, we're really prepared to risk so much of our privacy to commune with one another and to find these relationships. And they've just been kind of like rendering our, data to be completely exploitable, with like very real consequences in the physical world and the political world and things like that. So working more closely with the DAO, it's really interesting to see this form of internet-based organization that like enables people to coordinate their work with each other wherever they are in the world collectively, And I'm not saying that it's perfect by any means. There's lots of DAOs that you see kind of crop up for like a one use case thing, like Constitution DAO comes to mind, where you can rally like so many people around a singular cause. And it isn't limited to just DAOs. If you look at the GameStop, thing that happened last year, I think that there's so much more potential here in terms of mutual aid and forming communities that can, really have positive effects on the lives of people's material worlds that are oftentimes the last people to have access to this technology.
I mean, I think community is definitely super, super important. And for me, what I really want to see more of in the NFT space is more of a disruption of global capitalism, which I think was kind of the idea in the first place. And I think we're really going to see more and more of that if we are more community centric, if we're really putting people in power and leaders in place that are looking at the connections that are being made and the thought that's being put in rather than just valuing ETH or capital. One community that I really like is Forgotten Runes. They've been really cool. And I just kind of hop around from Discord to Discord at a time. I run my own as well. And I have been for years, even before NFTs. I'm not really making money the first thing in mind. Has just been such a major part of my personal well-being for years that I think that that's what really belongs in these spaces as well. And I really just want to see more of that. I think we are kind of weeding out the people who were just here for the money initially right now anyway, which is really good. So yeah, I just like to see that continue to grow as we move forward.
So I think this is a bit, I agree on this, but I don't think we are the people that were here for the money are going anywhere, because I think that still the ones that are leading the space are the people that have the money. We, for example, at the beginning, we were saying okay, now there's an opportunity and you don't need institutions to pick you up and stuff and you're more free. But before this, we had many sources of power, and now it is just one source of power and it's money. So it's very difficult to get out of it, because it becomes a lot about investing, and wherever the people that have money and they are interested in making more, the people that have a lot of money, and they are influencers or stuff, they are leading a huge crowd, and without any criteria, just to make money. So they just choose sometimes someone and they become big, and then after 1 year they might disappear or they might become nothing. So it is a tricky thing, a tricky point that we have to consider, I think, as we go on with NFTs.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear actually a little bit from Nino, how Unicorn DAO is kind of working to move capital in some of the right directions.
Yeah, well, I've been kind of just friends with Nadia Busirai for quite a while. And then John, he's also helped her to raise the 7 million for Ukraine DAO. He's been also helping her with the Unicorn, and my friend Chanel, we were involved. I'm more on the artist side from the DAO, so I don't really participate in the votes of where the money goes and etc. But I know that they're definitely supporting a lot of female artists, non-binary artists, LGBT artists, POC. So that's really great to see. I am not always I think they have community meetings where they vote on what art they're gonna buy and why. And yeah, from that perspective, I guess as someone who's Nadia's friend and supporter, I can see her vision and what she's doing. And then the DAO has its own sometimes. It's grown as a creature of its own aside from her. But it's really great to see that they're really supporting the underrepresented communities, and we really need that in the space. From the Guerrilla Girls, we know that 5%, barely 5%, right, of art that is being bought by females, or most of them are naked females or something. So it's great that someone is trying to make some splashes about hey, here we are, see us, and buy us, buy our art, and support us. Yeah, because I feel like the space is definitely like all about, not all about, but like a lot of it, just crypto space. This is not necessarily like the NFT space, but crypto space is very like, male for like white male oriented. And when you go to like Bored Apes events, you could see that clearly. Unfortunately, like some of the most uncomfortable NFT interactions I had like in the community were like, I think in the Bored Apes like yacht party, the very first one. And yeah, it's uncomfortable to feel like a piece of furniture where men only see you as like, oh, you just probably came with someone, right? And they don't really realize that you have like a whole like career and like pretty known in the space, but then they only like see like the white male that they want to collab, and then they're like, oh well, we're going to talk about business. I don't know, it's just like, something that I think we really need to get together and like work on in the space and like bring attention to.
Aside from financial support, which is like very, very obviously important, what are the other supports that like artists need? Do you think that being an artist in Web3, you really need to be a part of some sort of a community or a DAO, like, or else you probably won't succeed? Is that sort of like a deal breaker for you guys? Or do you think that maybe a person can just like create your own community? And like, how do you guys navigate this?
Talking about community, like we've mentioned, like I agree with all the girls here. It's very, very important. I myself have been able to have some success in the space because like, the club, I was lucky to be part of like the clubhouse communities that I participated with. And then we started doing the NFT meetings in LA. And that really helped to meet some collectors and like to get the word out, because it's all about, exposure. And unfortunately, like the artists have to be their own brands and have to be their own marketeers and all of that, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to stand out within, the crowd of like thousands and thousands of talented artists. And like, unfortunately, like the space, it's not always measured in the, in the art and talent. It's mostly measured in like, how much can you sell yourself, how much, what are your relationships, like how can you make those relationships, and how like long lasting they are, and the follow up. So yeah, I think those are really important, and they don't always define the artist based on their art, but mostly on like how well they can navigate in the space. But I think that applies to everything in the world in general.
Do you get inspired by your community when you do your artwork? Like, how close are you talking with your community daily? Or I'm wondering how much like the social influence of other people play a part when making your art?
Definitely, I'm close with a few people in my community. So I'm part of African NFT community, like I'm part of the operations team, but I also have like individuals that I talk to on a personal level. And as a 3D artist, because I just started when like lockdown happened in 2020, I do talk to other 3D artists in the community just to learn new techniques, or if I get stuck in a problem, that kind of thing. And they definitely inspire my art sometimes. And like collage artists, lately I've really been loving collage artists. So I've just been looking at their work and I'm just like, oh, I wonder how they did that, that kind of thing. So I definitely getting influence from the people around me.
In general, how would you say like social media has, impacted this idea of co-creating with your community?
For me, social media has definitely been very, very important, because the only reason I knew about Web3 is because my sister invited me onto Clubhouse, and I was just like scrolling through, seeing the different rooms, and I'm like, what is crypto art? And so that's what started everything. And then from there, Twitter, Twitter Spaces, Discord, all of that. So it's definitely played a huge role. And like the reason I'm able to connect with a lot of these artists who are across the world is because of social media. So it's definitely vital to me in Web3.
It's really interesting because there's so much of a kind of disjunct between like the whole Web 2 versus Web 3 conversation. And obviously in the moment that we're in, it requires both. Obviously, like so much of Web 3 is dependent on the whole Twitter ecosystem. And so much of it is obviously also dependent on Discord. Like if Discord goes down, which it did for like half a day one time, like so many DAO to DAO operations like are like paused. At FWB, I think we just hung out in Fig Jam that day. But it's really interesting to see other social media giants of Web2 trying to adapt to this more decentralized model. Obviously, Instagram has like tried to flirt with NFTs. Twitter is doing something where you can like tip people for their posts. TikTok has like a whole creator fund. All of these companies, these entities are still in this model that like attempt to centralize all of their activities and monetization onto themselves. And I think that part of what Web3 is trying to foster is a little bit more of this like post-platform idea where the user has their wallet, they can port everything to whatever website or app that they want. And it's a really interesting new migratory model, like your wallet, your contents, your artwork, your smart contracts, like all of it really like belongs to you.
How is the collection process going for you guys? For example, for me, if I want to create something, I need time to spend away from my phone, spend away from all these distractions sometimes. So what is the collection process looking like? And how much time do you spend in preparing all of this? Like, how much does it take to really drop an NFT collection? I would love to know that question. And this is for everyone who wants to jump in right now.
So for me, it was a very tricky thing at the beginning when I entered the space. Like I was freaked out for like how much time I needed to spend in social media and like Twitter saying good morning, like engaging, and then in Discord, and then engaging with other communities to get to know people and not be alone and blah, blah, blah. And it took me a bit of time to find a balance, because I am online and I run my own Discord and I need to be there. Sometimes I'm really tired, and me as well. I need I need to be off to be able to create stuff. And what actually helped me is that I have my studio. So when I come to the studio, I am like I'm not opening even the laptop. I just have my music and I do my sketches or I think and stuff, and then I go back. I open again the phone and I do a bit of both because I need to work in the computer as well, and then I open the internet and blah blah. But sometimes it is, for me, it is a bit tricky to find a balance. I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm doing marketing and not creating so much.
As far as like being on Twitter, Instagram, and stuff like that, I'm not on those platforms like as much, especially Instagram. Like my engagement on there has completely plummeted because I'm not like playing into that algorithm anymore. It's become insane. It's like all about like reels now, which is fine, I guess, but like the platform's just changed and shifted so much that like I don't think it's valuable for me to change my art to like play into the algorithm at this point. So, and it's another thing that I find really, really interesting. And I think the question was asked, like, how long does it take to drop a collection? And I think that is completely depends on like what the collection is, like, absolutely.
How hard is it for you to find like the technical details and setting? Like for me, if I think about, okay, I'm going to drop like a 20-piece NFT collection, I'm going to be overwhelmed because where am I going to drop it? Who's going to help me with the technical things? What if somebody comes back and it's like, my NFT isn't there where it should, like all these things. So I'm wondering, what's your experience with that?
In my personal Discord server, we talk a lot about like AI and kind of like the new tech that's being developed with AI. And it's pretty insane because something was just released where you can put in a prompt and get a 3D model out now. I think it's probably equivalent, and I haven't looked into it very deeply yet, but to maybe doing a 3D scan. But like, that's really interesting because it's like we are developing all this like algorithmic technology to make the creation process faster and easier. It's like, personally, I don't struggle with this because like I feel like at this point my creation process is a lot different from even what it used to be. I think I used to do a lot more like collage kind of in some ways with some of my still work, and like now I'm getting like more into sculpting, and I think with sculpting and getting like more stylistic, that kind of is like a different way to go about the creation process. But I think when you're doing more collage work where you're just kind of, what I used to do is just like download 3D models and like use programs that kind of like give you pre-made stuff that you just like modify a bit and like kind of just throw that together and make a scene and like do that type of thing. Like I think we're gonna see that become so much quicker, and I think like that type of work is going to be produced even faster. So yeah, it's crazy. It's really interesting.
As you were talking, you mentioned that you touched on a bit about AI, and I actually came across a tweet on Twitter today. I'm going to read it, and it's connected to AI, so maybe that can open up an AI conversation. Suhail wrote that there's no doubt in my mind that making AI art is real art. I spent about 1.5 hours tweaking things to produce these visuals. The hair, perfect red lipstick color, focus, eyes, wrinkles, theme, reflections, clothes. It was a joy to achieve a result I couldn't have previously. So, like, I think talking about like the art process and how like all of these like emerging technology, they've sort of evolved our art process and how we, I guess, even perceive art. And with this like AI being like a game changer in all of it, what do you guys think? Do you guys have any opinions on how AI affects the process, and what you think about it in terms of like the ethical side of it as well?
I must say, I mean, when I first played with Midjourney, I was so obsessed. I think for the 3 days straight, I just didn't leave my phone. I was constantly on the phone, and exceeded all the limitations within the first 30 minutes they were available. It's incredible, and it just completely blew my mind on the thought of like me creating something within a couple hours. Yeah, maybe ideally it happens within a couple seconds, but like the other person said that like you still take several hours to pinpoint what exactly you need and the look that you need. So I think once you spend a couple hours, it does feel like your own. It doesn't feel like you cannot completely like not claim it as well too, because like I feel like you do become like one with it like once it's like a brainchild, right? So I feel like in terms of like ethical questions, like can you claim the art, can you utilize it, can you resell it? I think Midjourney now is allowing you to resell it. I think that you own the rights to it, is if I'm not mistaken. So I do feel like maybe utilizing AI as like a part of your process rather than like a full process, or everyone can do whatever they're comfortable with. But I was thinking maybe I can utilize that in my 3D somehow as like an inspiration, or as like the scenes. What I'm doing with that is I'm either using it as like a background for some of the renders, like an environmental background, or I'm actually I got like an easel, and I was thinking to like maybe like paint what I drew, what I did with the Midjourney. So I feel like it's completely changing the process for the artists. It made me feel useless for like couple hours for sure, because I was like, damn, if this is like happening now, then what's going to happen in like couple years? And but I think if we find a way to utilize it as a tool, as a tool in our everyday lives, it can definitely help us to achieve our results so much quicker.
Good point there. And Nicole, I want to read a quote of yours, which I pulled out from your conversation with Joy. And you said, and it kind of connects to the future of AI. You said, talk about the Turing test. If someone can discern that a work is created by an algorithm or an AI, that I think is when it starts to get quite threatening for art as it is right now. I'm sure there will be some counter in the art world to this technology, though I don't know what that will look like at this point, and I don't know if it will be successful. If AI is permanently going to be integrated into the system of art making, as in like she's not sure if that's going to happen. And I found that really interesting. Do you want to maybe elaborate on that a bit?
I guess what I meant by that was, if AI is going to do certain tasks more quickly than an artist, it's going to be basically necessary to use it in order to make a product period, like make something to sell. because other people are going to be doing that. And with competition in the market, like if you're using a slower method, you know, your work probably isn't going to make a livable wage. Like that's what I think. But the other part of that was, you know, like with these links that I just posted, if you guys go there and you look at the 3D models, and I don't know that they even have like the meshes visible. I think it's just like the renders. Like it's interesting because they, you know, these 3D models don't look much different to me than 3D scan, which we already have, right? And sure, like doing like text to 3D is faster than doing a 3D scan, but like what will the results be? What are you scanning? You know, are you, you know, maybe even creating an artwork and then scanning it, or like, you know, it like how stylistic is it going to get? Like, for instance, with the Midjourney AI, I think you're getting very stylistic results versus with DALL-E, you're getting very photorealistic results. You know, so is it able to kind of mimic your style? And I think that's really interesting. And I think what we will probably see is artists making work that the AI cannot create. And I guess my you know, viewpoint there is like, you know, what will that look like?
I'm kind of conflicted about AI just because I was using DALL-E a lot when I first got on, and I would like tweet out the images while I'm like working on this collection because it took me a lot longer than I thought. And so then people were really falling in love with the AI work that I was putting out. And so it started getting a lot of attention. And I'm just like, okay, like, but I do my own art. So I don't know. It just made me think, like, do I want people to like this AI art more than the stuff I actually make? So I kind of haven't put out any new AI stuff just yet. Cause like now I'm gonna obviously integrate my work with it, but it was just a very weird feeling getting a lot of attention for the AI work when it's like, okay, like, yeah, it came from my mind and I made the little changes, but it's not the same as something that I physically did in Blender or whatever app. So yeah, I was very conflicted about it, and I still kind of am.
I think that's really deep and really something we should maybe think about, or, you know, I'm just wondering, like, if you look at art sometimes, let's say from people who use Blender, days and all these things, and you feel like, should there be more? Like, should they be involved? Like, obviously I can see the difference with artists, you know, but I feel like, do you have ever this feeling of like with AI and using all the same program that there has to be an evolution, or that it becomes repetitive? Or I think Nicole also touched on that she's doing her own avatars or something like that. So I'm thinking, why not create my own AI at some point, or my own kind of template, because, you know, then I have my own kind of verse, my own kind of art world, because it's created from me. But yeah, I would love to hear what do you guys think on that.
I'll go. I definitely will. I think before Midjourney and DALL-E were publicly accessible, like actually the whole reason I got into the avatars was I had this idea of like creating this, you know, creative partner that's an algorithm, but at the same time is like a clone of myself. And part of the reason I started going into the avatar direction is that I'm still like romanticizing like the idea of like, you know, artificial consciousness and how that can help us. Where can that go? Also being able to like exchange knowledge with that, split time. Let's say like my idea was like I can go onto like these events or shoots, do things in person, while my algorithmic clone, right, can sit here and learn new things, watch tutorials, I don't know, do the work that I don't want to do, like retouching and all of that, and then we come back and we, you know, connect and join those experiences and knowledges that we have collected, and kind of like, you know, that way there's someone else is doing like more technical work at the same time as like I'm doing the things that it cannot do. I had an idea of also like, yeah, creating an algorithm that can help me visually split up the work, like in terms of like, you know, creating the 3D artwork or doing effects on the photography I do at the time, or musically as well, like, you know, creating running certain pieces or vocal recordings through the algorithm that will modify it in a different way, or come up with like new lyrics, or come up with new melodies. So that's definitely has been something on my mind. But that being said, it's quite complicated to create an algorithm like that on your own, at least for me, without much coding knowledge. But definitely want to learn Python for that reason. And like, I think once I'm comfortable with my 3D journey, I will definitely move on to like coding Python and artificial intelligence knowledge. So that's definitely in the plans.
When Abby, you said that the word conflicting, right? Like it's conflicting is it's kind of stuck in my mind. And when I think about these new or these emerging technologies, I see them as, you know, they're here to enhance human experience. How can we get to that point where these algorithms or AI is actually enhancing what we do versus doing it? I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There's like a little bit of a parallel between the digital twin or avatar that's coming in as a stand-in for you at these shoots or like openings, and the sort of conversation we were having a little bit earlier about DALL-E and Midjourney, these kind of creative disruptions or technological tools that end up raising some like base ethical concerns or like causing some sort of like moral panic or frenzy. But ultimately what they are to me is, as you were saying earlier, Nicole, like they're tools, they're like extensions of our work that can, I mean, not only make things easier, but like allow us to find new forms of creative expression. So I like hope to see it that way. And ultimately, like the more insidious side or question that I think a lot of people have are like, what ways are, you know, magazines, corporations, and things of that matter going to use these tools to undermine the work really of like illustrators and artists? Like if you can like feed the prompt in to generate the illustration, and like why go out of your way to like pay a designer to do it? I think that's a little bit more of the fear. Anyone who's been in like Midjourney's Discord knows that like thousands of people are like so fascinated by this and are like really invested in exploring that rabbit hole. So
yeah, I would add on that real quick too, like in terms of, you know, how to utilize that as tools rather than just like create that claim that is fully your art. These friends I know have been using you know, Midjourney to actually create ring design. So they're a jewelry designer, but you know, they also work in ZBrush, but their initial sketches, they like find ways to create in like Midjourney, and then they take them, recreate them in 3D and then redesign them a little bit, but like, you know, utilize that as like a core inspiration. Or yeah, like I've mentioned, like I see it being used in virtual production a lot, as like, you know, environmental backgrounds or something like that. Or like mood boarding, I think as well. So instead of using other people's work, you just utilize the prompt that you see and show people actually what actually happens in your brain. I feel like that is really a great tool for that. But I think in the end of the day, it's all about your own voice as an artist. And if you have a strong vision and a strong voice, and you know what you're doing, and you have a like definitive style, no one can take that away from you. And AI can only enhance that rather than like, you know, take away. So I think we just need to listen to ourselves and be true to ourselves, and that style will shine, like outshine anything else, and people will know that's you.
It is a bit like every medium. For example, when photography became so easy to use and all of us are taking photographs and photographs are everywhere, like it was a question for photographers, what are they doing now? What is their use? Why? It changed the whole photography work that a photographer can do. So now it will change the whole field of art. So we have to readjust even if we want to use it or not.
I feel like it's about the focus of the artist, right? Like about the narrative. Like you, for example, with your art, you give a certain narrative or you give a certain story. And even if you use AI or anyone else here is using AI, it's not about like that you use it, but like, how do you tell a story with it? Or what is the curation that you focus on, or your point of narrative that people can connect to? Because in the end, if people connect to it and they feel they understand the meaning, then it doesn't really matter what kind of tools you use, right? Like, it's about what people think and feel when they see the artwork.
I mean, for example, my work is about a bit like a comment, a joke about this, because it's like very simple, like a drawing that you can do, like a 3 years old can do. And I say about the AI and stuff, like we can use like all technology available to say nothing and stuff, but I'm not against it. It's I think you can do anything you want, and of course it will change things, and a lot of things excite me. So I think, and there are a lot of ways that one can use them. For example, I'm not. I could use it. I'm just a very bored person to learn all this. I mean, it is a struggle for me to sit there and learn new technologies, but I would use it as well. I mean, it is just what suits to everyone. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see what will come out of this.
Speaking about excitement, to wrap things up, I want to ask you guys, what is something in the space that you're currently missing, or that you currently like you want to have there, like you're missing it? It could be community related, it could be technology related, but in the NFT art world and as an artist, what is something that you are like, I need this in the space, or there could be more of this in the space? I can start because we have so many amazing artists here. I want to see more crossover collabs in the future. I feel like people are really good now that they honed their own style and everything, but I'm excited to see in the next couple of years how maybe a digital artist cooperates with a physical artist, and we go to a gallery and there's an exhibition of that. Or I want to see that more, because I feel like we see a lot of NFT collection and they're awesome, but I feel like there could be more collaboration between artists.
I guess I could go next. I think for me, purpose is very important, and sometimes it's very easy to follow trends and lose track of why Web3, in the first place. Why are we doing all that we're doing, and so just making sure that we're sort of shaping the narrative, and we keep the purpose in mind, the why in mind, like what are we trying to solve, what are we trying to fix, and not kind of move away from that completely. So yeah, that's for me.
So I think I spoke a little bit to this earlier, but I think, this whole process of decentralization is supposed to give people more power, and I really hope to continue to see that and see capital move around more, hopefully. Like, has that been completely successful so far? I don't think so, but I think there has been a little bit of movement there, and I'd really like to continue to push for that and see people push for that, and I think that really starts with focusing more on community. And personally, I'm already doing that, but I think people who do have the capital now really need to do that. So yeah, hopefully we continue to see that.
I would join and add on top of that I think we've talked about, showcasing more of the underrepresented communities, and just like adding on top of disruption of the capital. I do think that in the space there was a moment where there was a great redistribution of wealth, where like with the artists that are successful with their art, they buy other artists art as well. At least like I've been doing that myself as well. Like, as soon as I sell something, I would go on Twitter, see if there's like cool POC, Asian artists, female artists, LGBT artists that I can buy from. So I feel like more of that, because there was a moment where we were all supportive of that and kind of following that trend, and that really felt like it's like a really great way to distribute the wealth within the circles that of people that are driven, that are technology forward, that are understanding and kind of share that similar vision of the future. So and we're all going there together. So I really love that like sense of just like getting the bag all together, you know. So I do want to see more of that and less of like more of actual one-on-one art as well, because I feel like now the one-on-one boom kind of ended, and now it's all about the generative again, and it's all about, you know, the frogs and the penguins and everything. Not that I have anything against the penguins and the cats, love them, but I'm just saying, like, want to see more art and want to see more female art in non-binary, LGBT, people of color as well.
I think my answer is very similar to what they said. Like, I would like to see more emerging artists get opportunities. I like to see curators actually looking to find artists that are new to them for some of these really big opportunities. Because so there's not the same names every time, because you never know who's out there if you don't go looking for it. So I would like to see more curators actually digging through and like maybe looking through their DMs, looking through, you know, doing the work to find an artist who is very talented. They just don't have the backing or whatever. I'd like to see more people have their life changed, you know, based on their talent, not just because they've already been co-signed by somebody else.
So Eleni, you want to share those last thoughts?
Yeah, for example, I think that I'd like to see a bit of more political concern. I mean, not that some things that we seem to have a bit surpassed or in traditional art world here are a bit like the issue. Like there are a lot of, I don't know, like an example is that like we are full of male photographers taking nude girls, and they are like selling it for like really expensive. There are things that there is a bit of critical approach into it outside the NFTs, and we are still behind, I think. So I would like to see a bit of more of going forward, not letting anyone that have a very high budget leave the space. I remember like it was a person that expressed very racist thoughts, and it's like he's a really big influencer or something. I mean, yeah, this kind of stuff, I guess.
So kind of like more regulated, safe environments when it comes to the Web3 space.
Yeah, you put it in 3 words really better than
no, I mean, I just I think you guys all mentioned very, very valuable things and things that we can focus on as we are in the space and as we are shaping the space. I also like I love what Nina said about when you sell your art, you buy another person's artwork, and it could be something like, even I was thinking like an art swap or an art, I don't know, like I'm just thinking there's so many possibilities. Even if you buy a physical object and you get like a random artist that you get to know and to get to know their story, like there's so many ways we can really think about how we use this and how we can present these artists better and have more unknown artists in the space, I think.
We spoke about co-creating, building community, and, you know, all of that stuff. So hopefully you guys will connect after this and, you know, do stuff together. We'll be looking out for those kind of collaborations. And really, thank you. It's been such an honor to be having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much for inviting us. It was really nice to be here and meet everyone.
Yeah, I'm happy that we could also have you on video today, Eleni. And yeah, thank you to everyone who tuned in today in today's art panel with these amazing artists. Make sure to follow them all on social media. We're going to link all of their links down below, as well as their artworks. And if you guys want to get more involved within our community, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and we have a Discord. We are NEWFORUM_NCO. And yeah, we can't wait to see you guys in the next episode and share more about this space.